Hey, welcome back to the Cellar. So today we're going to be doing episode 2 of my top 10 favorite kills / deaths in a franchise. The franchise being Final Destination. Love this franchise. I'll be right back.
In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes.
So number 10 on my list is from Final Destination 1. This is the scene where Terry gets hit by the bus. I remember the first time I saw it, I was kind of expecting it, but it was still just as amazing as when it happens. So you see her kind of like, cursing them out, walking into the street, and it's like, bam, done. Blood splatter everywhere. Now, this scene is kind of like duplicated in other Final Destinations. I guess they just loved it so much they had to repeat it in other movies. But yes, this is 10 on my list. I feel like a lot of the death scenes in Final Destination makes you think twice about doing certain things. Like, don't drive behind a big truck with logs. Look both ways before crossing the street. Just food for thought. Number 9 on my list is from Final Destination 3. This is the final scene when Wendy, her friend, and her sister, they were all on the train. And, they think they survived. They're living their life now. And she gets a final premonition of the train derailing. They try to get off the train as fast as possible. Unfortunately, none of them make it. It's crazy, because I know with all these movies, nobody makes it. Even though you think they survive, you find out if you read stories that they've died somewhere in between the two movies. So yeah, none of them make it. It's horrible. It's kind of like, oh, you were kind of rooting for them. And no, unfortunately, death got them. But yeah, that scene will always be one of my favorites. It's very eerie, that this could happen anytime, being on a train. And like the little premonitions that she got at the time was just like crazy, like seeing the tanning salon, the ad on the train, all these different weird things happening. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. But that scene is just amazing. It just never gets old to me. Mary Elizabeth Winstead actually plays Wendy, and I really love her as an actress. Number 8 on my list. The name of this alone is why it's one of my favorite deaths. It's called the asshole vacuum. Yes, this is from the Final Destination, where Hunt, played by Nick Zano, he's in the pool. He's kind of a douche the whole movie, honestly. And he just literally gets sucked by like the drain. Sucks everything out of him. It is disgusting. It's a little cheesy too, because it has like kind of the Jaws 3D effects, Jaws 3D, those effects where it was like super cheese. Yeah, it has kind of those effects. It makes it a little cheesy, but it's still amazing. And the fact that it's called the asshole vacuum, like it had to be on my list. And it's amazing. Like this guy finally gets what he deserves the entire movie because he's a jerk. You do see intestines like flying in the air. It's pretty cool. And number 7 is from the Final Destination as well. It's the scene with Samantha, who's the mother. She goes to the hair salon, and the entire time you have anxiety because this hair salon should be shut down. It is very unsafe. All these little things start happening. You're like, oh, she's going to die by this. She's going to die by this. You're waiting the entire scene for her to go. And then finally she's paying. You're like, okay, she survived this. Okay, weird. Opens the door. Boom, right in her eye. A lawnmower slingshot something right into her eye and she dies. How horrifying. It was amazing and horrifying at the same time. It's sad because she's a mom. Her kids were probably nearby when it happened. But it's amazing the suspense this scene gives you. From start to finish, like when her hair is getting cut, you're like, something's going to happen. The chair's dropping. I think like the ceiling fan falls or something like that. It's just like so many crazy things happening. And it's walking out of the door. So she had to endure all of that. And she walks out of the door and she ends up dying. Right? I don't know how you avoid that type of death. I don't think you can. Next on my list is number 6. It's from Final Destination 5. It's the scene where Olivia is going to get LASIK eye surgery. I think this chimed on all of our fears, especially me. I have a thing with eyes and heights. So when she's going in that chair and they're taking her eye and they're pulling it back, I'm like, nope. I will wear glasses or contacts or whatever. I will not get that done. Nope. No way. So yeah, so she's sitting in the chair. Her eyes starts burning out. So you think like this is how she's going to die, right? No, she gets out of the chair and she freaks out, falls out the window to her death. You get a great scene of her eyeball just falling out. Yep, falling out. You see the eyeball like on the pavement. Disgusting, horrible. Yeah, so this is one of my favorites because, like I said, it chimes on 2 of my great fears, which is anything to do with the eyes and heights. So this poor girl, the eye, and then has to fall out of a building. Terrible, terrible. I'm trying to remember her original death on the bridge, but I can't really remember it. I think she like drops until like the water and something falls on her. I think I would prefer that death over the death she actually got. You know what? I know. I'd rather the death that she was supposed to have. Number 5 on my list is from Final Destination 2. Now, this is the final scene of the movie. It's with Brian. He's with the 2 survivors, his family. They're like barbecuing, hanging out. Everybody's happy, right? Everything's so great. So he walks over to the barbecue to check it. And his dad or mom start talking about the story, how he survived that day. He almost got hit by one of the news vans or something. And the 2 survivors look at each other like, oh no. All of a sudden, the barbecue explodes. Yes, poor Brian is dead. They kill Brian. You know, and then the mom starts screaming. So this scene is just amazing because you didn't expect it. I did not expect them to, 1, kill off a teenager and kill off a teenager the final scene. I know there's another scene in this movie where they kill off a teenager, so I shouldn't have thought he was safe, but I really thought he was safe. I didn't think anybody else was gonna go. It's literally like happy, everything's great, you're eating burgers and hot dogs, and bam, body parts everywhere. Yes, the body parts fall on the table. The poor mom has to see her son, pieces of the body all over the table. It was amazing. It was horrifying. It was just everything you expect in a Final Destination scene. If you don't remember that one, you need to go back and watch it. It's amazing. My next one, number 4, is also from Final Destination 2. It's the scene with Rory. Now, this is right after Cassius dies. So you think, okay, we have a while, right, to the next death? No, barbed wire slices him in half. Now, I was sad because, and I expected his death. I didn't expect his death at that moment, but he was my favorite character from that Final Destination. He was funny. He was chill. He's funny. Like, you know, I always call him lattes and such. Because there's one scene he's talking at the table and he's like, yeah, I was just, you know, in Paris or whatever, sipping lattes and such, just casually, but it was just cute and it was funny. So he was just my favorite character overall. But yeah, it sucked when he died. I just didn't want it at that time. We just saw somebody die and then he goes, it was just like really quick and he's like, slice him right in half. It was pretty amazing and pretty terrible at the same time. And the scene he was talking about is from the Final Destination 1, where they're in Paris and the guy gets hit by the sign. Yeah, he was in Paris when that happened, and he witnessed the whole thing. Number 3 on my list is also from Final Destination 2. You could tell I have a pattern here, which one is my favorite. It's where Tim, the teenage boy, he's at the dentist office, and he almost gets strangled by like one of the things hanging above him. And he survives. So he walks out. He sees pigeons. I guess he's really intrigued by these pigeons because he has to go chase after them. A freaking glass pane falls and splatters him. Splatters him right in front of his mother. Did you really have to go after the pigeons? What did you get out of that? What could you get out of that? Besides dead, I guess. Yeah, that scene is horrifying. Horrifying. I did not expect it. I expected him to die in the chair, right? A nice, slow, non-painful death. I did not expect him to go right outside the building, right in front of his mother. I didn't think they were going to kill somebody so young. I guess the first Final Destination, they were high school students, so I guess it makes sense. They were like older than me when I first saw the movie, so it makes sense that they felt like older people, but they were teenagers, just like he was a teenager. But yeah, it's pretty bloody. Yeah, it's pretty gory, but it is amazing. Like I said, if you haven't seen Final Destination 2 in a while, it needs to rewatch. This movie is amazing. Number 2 on my list is the entire collapse of the bridge scene from Final Destination 5. I had to include the entire scene because there's just so many amazing deaths all at once. At first, you see, I know one guy, just as he's left in the bus goes off the side of the bridge, or like the big gap in the bridge. He dies. One guy gets poured with, I guess it was like, I don't know, hot cement or something. And somebody else gets impaled. Somebody falls onto a boat. Like, there's so many crazy death scenes, and they are amazing. Amazing. Like this whole scene, I get major anxiety when I'm going over a bridge. I do. And I think that's why I love this scene so much, because it just plays on my fears some more. What's a horror movie if you're not afraid, right? If I'm sitting there and I'm not afraid at all, I don't really enjoy it. I have to have some anxiety. I have to have some fear. And this entire scene from start to finish gives me that. So that's why it's number 2 on my list. So my next one is actually from Final Destination 5. At number 1 is the final scene from Final Destination 5. This is the one with the plane crash. Yes. So you think they made it. You think everything's good. No, Molly and Sam do not make it. So, it's a plane crash, right? We saw that in the first one. But why it's my favorite is because it's that moment you figure out that this movie is a prequel to the first one. You're sitting there, they're on the plane, they're going to Paris. And all of a sudden you see some familiar faces screaming and going off the plane. You're like, wait a second. You hear the one guy saying, like, oh, he had a premonition. We kicked off a few people. I think it was one of the stewardess. And Sam's like, holy crap, he just experienced what I've been experiencing this entire time. We need to get off the plane, but we can't. It's too late. Yes, poor Molly is sucked out of the plane, and Sam gets pretty much like burnt alive. The fire takes over him, and he's done. Oh, that scene was brilliant. Brilliant. I did not expect all of this to have happened before the original Final Destination. I was blown away by this scene. It just seems like such a simple scene, but the fact that it tied in the first with this one just made it my favorite in the entire franchise. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. So yes, that is my top 10 favorite kill death scenes in Final Destination. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below. Let me know what your favorite kill death scene from this franchise is. As always, thank you so much for watching. We will have more on the way, so stay tuned. I'll be right back.
I'll see you soon.